With the Premier League officially underway, I figured it'd be a good time to do another tier list, this time on the captains for the 23-24 Premier League season. Hi everybody, I'm Sideline Sedo, and today I'm going to be looking at all the captains and ranking them not on ability, but how I see them as leaders. So we're going to get straight into things, but first, if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing. We just passed 500, and once again, thank you to everyone who's subscribed up until now. It really means the world to me. But if you want to be within these first 1,000 subs before we start kind of, taking off with sub numbers here, consider subscribing. But let's get right into it. Just as a disclaimer, once again, I did not make this tier list. This was made by @PassArsenal on Twitter. Shout out @PassArsenal. Pass_Arsenal, that is. But they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories. Warrior, leads by example. Dressing room merchant, lacks the proper temperament, and not captain material. And we have all 20 captains here, and Bruno Fernandes is at the start. And honestly, I'm going to be the guy. He is not captain material for me whatsoever. Bruno has cost Man United points. I've seen games where Bruno has been arguing with the ref, or he's just been distracted by something, and he gets caught up in so many of the theatrics of football that he doesn't get focused on, leading his team sometimes. Not all the time. Bruno's an incredibly talented player. This isn't by ability, once again. So United fans, don't take it out on me. It's just that I just don't see any captaincy material in him. I don't see, he feels just not, built for it, in my opinion. I've just seen him dive and complain so much. And a lot of former Manchester United players, I would assume, would hate to have played against Bruno Fernandes. I mean, imagine Roy Keane, putting in not even a tackle, but just barging towards, Bruno Fernandes, winning the ball off him, and Fernandes flopping. He would be livid. He'd want to stomp his face in. So that's why I have him there. He just doesn't really exhibit what I would envision a Manchester United captain to be, which would be formidable. And quite frankly, Fernandes is feeble, in my opinion, as a captain. Next is Heung-min Son. Maybe another controversial opinion, but I'm going to put him at dressing room merchant. Son is somebody who has been one of my favorite players in the league for several seasons outside of Liverpool. He's just such a talented forward, has a whole nation of support behind him in South Korea, but he's just super friendly, and I don't think you want your captain to be too friendly. You kind of want them to have a dark side, so to speak, or kind of be able to flip a switch and get serious and kind of almost still fear a little bit. Son, I don't know. He is high up on the dressing room merchant, probably low here on the leads by example, but he's very new. There's a lot of new captains this year, I believe 12 or so. So I don't know. I just feel like he got this because of his history with the club. And unfortunately, it feels like Son is kind of slowly starting to decline. So I'm going to put him at dressing room merchant. Next up is Jack Cork. Jack Cork, honestly, I haven't followed his career all that much. I watched Burnley briefly last season. But I'm going to probably just put him here. They could probably do better in terms of a captain compared to Jack Cork, and this isn't a jab at Jack. I honestly might even put him at leads by example, because for him to be in a team that, I'm going to put him here because Burnley scored 100 points last season. They had a absolutely monster campaign in the championship, and I feel like it'd be a disservice to rank him any lower than this. So we're going to keep him there. Next up is our first warrior, Jamal Lascelles, made captain by Rafa Benitez several seasons ago when he was experiencing his tenure at Newcastle United. And while he might not feature week in, week out, he's been with this club this whole time, similar to Fabian Schär. And for him to be through this whole kind of rebuild and still kind of get some minutes here and there and still be a valuable rotation player, I've seen him, play for Newcastle in certain games and just absolutely, just get destroyed. There was, I think, one game where he sustained some kind of head injury and just got bandaged up and went on the pitch. And I just, that's fairly admirable. But moving on to Joe Worrell, I believe this is at Nottingham Forest. Joe Worrell, I mean, probably dressing room merchant. Like, Nottingham has been kind of whatever since coming up into the Premier League, and this isn't a jab at Worrell, but I mean, there's probably, you see the players they're signing, Montiel, they signed Alanga, who's like a decent prospect. They have a few other players who've came through the doors at Nottingham Forest. Not saying that they should displace Worrell as captain, but you would imagine that his spot is kind of there because he's been at the club for a while, as opposed to just being like a great captain. Maybe he is a great captain. I don't know. If you're a Nottingham Forest fan, comment down below. How good of a captain is Joe Worrell really? Next up, no offense, Joel Ward, but Joel Ward has, like, he's captain. I think Zaha was captain before him, if I'm not mistaken. Now Zaha's gone. And Zaha wasn't like, I'd probably put Zaha in this category too, but the only reason I put Joe Worrell here, or not Joe Worrell, Joel Ward, is just the fact that Joel Ward is, he's been there for like a decade and he probably deserves it, but like, he's very old and I don't know how effective he's going to be at being a captain. So I'm just kind of skeptical of him. This is just my own opinion on how I think he's going to perform. Sheffield United. Who's even Sheffield United's captain? I can't even recognize this guy. It looks like Jack Rodwell with hair. It's John Egan. John Egan, honestly, pretty sure he was there during the tenure of, what's his name, Chris Wilder, and they played really good football. I'm just going to put him at Leeds by example. Next up, Kurt Zouma. Man kicks cats. Come on. David Moyes, like, that's how you know he's kind of approaching a state of being senile, because this dude straight up kicks cats. There's nothing that you can do, say, prove, act, gesticulate, nothing that could be done to sway me that he is probably the worst captain in the league, just based on the fact that he literally has footage of him kicking and abusing a cat. I, for one, am of the belief that despite, gambling sponsors, alcohol sponsors, and other kind of like, just like negative sponsors in the league, I still believe that footy as a sport, football as a global sport, is for the kids, and being that it is, kind of like something that should inspire kids, the captain of their club, it just feels really almost like borderline malicious having Kurt Zouma as your captain. Because, like, I'm just shocked that, like, it's just disgusting to me that he's captain. Next up, another man who's disgusting that is captain. Kevin De Bruyne's not on this list. This person did clarify that they put Kyle Walker and Kurt Zouma as they've been on-field captains so far. De Bruyne's out for 3 to 4 months anyway, so Kyle Walker will be the captain for Man City, and he's not captain material. I don't care that he won a treble. I don't care that he, has played in the Premier League so long, in England international. He gets drunk at bars and whips out his dong. Like, that's pretty not great, to say the least. Having your captain just kind of be a drunk bozo is not a great look. So next up is another Warrior. Lewis Dunk is a beast. Honestly, whenever I see this man play, he just shreds for Bournemouth, and not Bournemouth, Brighton. There's a lot of B teams in the Premier League this season. I'm mixing them up. But, I got to give credit to Lewis Dunk. At first, I was kind of skeptical of him in the league. I didn't think he would be necessarily I thought he'd get replaced at Brighton eventually, but he's stayed put. He's had great games. I think he's scored in big games as well for them. He's just a player who, all in all, is a solid player. And while I would say he probably is on the very low end of Warrior, he's definitely up there. Just has to be at this point, right? That's Kilman, right? That's got to be Kilman. Kilman, I don't know. I mean, Wolves nearly got relegated 2 seasons in a row. He's at the back for them. I mean, they lost their midfield core. I don't think he's cut out to necessarily be able to help them facilitate any sort of, momentum throughout the season. I don't know. I just feel like that feels right. Another Warrior, John McGinn. This man's just a beast for Villa week in, week out. I really rate John McGinn. I think he's a quality player. He's also captained Scotland a couple times when Robertson's not playing, so that's really great. That's bonus points for him, I'd say. And yeah, John McGinn, Warrior. Next up, Neto at Bournemouth. I don't know. Maybe here. I just feels weird. I don't know. He doesn't feel like a Bournemouth captain. He's only been there for a little bit of time. And quite honestly, like, I don't know. Like, really, what is there to say about Neto that proves that he is a great captain? I'm really trying to think just so that I could at least put him here or here, but it's real. Like, he's just kind of unspectacular, isn't he? Like, even as a goalie, he's a decent goalie, but it's not like he's really accomplished much in his career to like be like, oh, well, he deserves the captaincy. It just kind of feels weird. It feels like, well, they have a decent goalie and they don't want him to go, so why not give him the captain's armband? That's kind of the vibe I get from him being captain of Bournemouth. But maybe I'm mistaken, Christian Norgard is captain of Brentford. I'm probably going to say leads by example. He plays pretty good whenever I see him play. And yeah, I mean, he just seems like a diligent, robust, and pretty, solid player overall. Next up, Martin Odegaard. I'm going to put him at Warrior. Martin Odegaard, I think, is a player who is honestly like just so talented for I don't know if I can put him at Warrior. I'm gonna have to put him at the very highest of leads by example. Like, he's the closest to being a Warrior. We'll see how he fares in the Champions League. That's really, like, I think the proper test of a captain. How can you fare on like away fixtures, halfway across the world? And I would put him at Warrior, but he just kind of doesn't strike me as being like all that tough. And you kind of have to be tough to be up here. Also here, we're going to put Reece James. The only reason I don't have Reece James at Warrior is maybe a loaded reason. But for me, Reece James just, the biggest quality a player can have is availability. Reece James is injured for months every season. I don't know how. I don't know why. I actually like Reece James, believe it or not. I think he's a quality player, but I do feel like there is some Reece James propaganda that goes on. Sure, he's won the Champions League with Chelsea, but that whole team looks so different now. And even though he's one of the few mainstays, I don't really feel like his leadership makes an impact on the club. But when he does play, when he is fit and he is on the pitch, like, you can understand why he'd be there because he's arguably one of their best players. And, he is, from the academy and such. So it just feels like a natural fit. But yeah, I'd have to put him leads by example. Next up's a Warrior, Seamus Coleman. I don't think he's captaining them at the moment, Everton. But he is a Warrior nonetheless. He's played there for so long. He's, put in incredible shifts, was one of the best right backs in the league at a time. Now he's injured, aging, declining. But even still, he played that last game of last season to his max, like his absolute max. And you just gotta respect it. Much respect to him. Another Warrior coming up here. We have, I forget his name. I feel embarrassed because Luton is such a tiny club in the league, and usually you have a read on these players. But this guy, the only thing I know about him, and it's besides the fact, it's Tom Lockyer. Tom Lockyer. Yep. Okay. So Tom Lockyer, I'm pretty sure he suffered a heart attack, like on the pitch in this last season, which is absolutely metal. The fact that he's still playing football is just incredible. Congratulations to him for, getting a new lease on life. He was with Luton for a few seasons now, and he's, now he's in the Prem, and the fact that he's still captaining them, he's not starting every game, but the fact that he comes on and gets the captain's armband, good enough to put him at Warrior for me. Next up, we're going to have Tom Kearney at dressing room merchant. Honestly, Tom Kearney's been there for like 6-7 years, but he's not in their plans, it feels like. And when he does play, it's minimal. So we'll put him there. And finally, Virgil van Dijk, I'm going to put, honestly, at Warrior as well. I'm going to adjust this list a little. So I'm going to put Son and lacks proper temperament, because I think that's more true than him being a dressing room merchant. I'm going to put, it feels tough to put any of these people lower, because I feel like there are some great captains in the Premier League. But in terms of being a dressing room merchant, out of these, 11 players, honestly, sorry, Chelsea fans. Nah, that's crazy disrespect. I'm gonna put Jack Cork there. Just to make the list a little more balanced. Because we'll put John Egan there. Because Cork got 100 points. Egan did well last season as well with Sheffield. But that's my list. I think I'm ready to finalize it. 4 not captain materials, 7 lacking the proper temperament, 3 dressing room merchants, and then half of the list is either a lead by example or Warrior. The most is actually Warrior. I do feel like there's some seriously quality captains in the league. I feel like Coleman's inclusion is it's justifiable, but it's, kind of skews the rest of the list a little bit. And also Lockyer, they're not really starting. Coleman's injured and Lockyer's, recovering. But that's my list. In the description will be the link to this tier list. If you so choose to do one yourself, you can check it out and you can make your own and let me know in the comments regardless. Who's your favorite captain in the Premier League? Who's your least favorite captain? And not by player ability, but specifically by their, leadership at the club and just their ability to be a successful captain exclusively in the league. But that's my list. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed, and consider subscribing to the Sideline Sedo YouTube channel for all your Premier League football, transfer, Liverpool, and general soccer news. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. I'm Sideline Sedo. Peace.